There we go. And welcome again. Welcome back, everybody, to the I Choose Fitness Summit. I'm Alan Boucher, and on behalf of Bob Sisk, the other coalition leader, we're glad to welcome a real special guest here today, somebody with a very unique perspective and background on what we've all been dealing with over the last year and a half. And I'd like to introduce everybody here today to Edward Eickhoff. Ed is the Chief Operating Officer for PFMG Development Corp., a privately held real estate company. He's responsible for managing all facets of the company, including development, acquisition, leasing, construction, and overall operations of the business. Ed is also the Executive Vice President for PF Michigan Group. PF Michigan Group is a franchisee of Planet Fitness that owns and operates, as Ed just told me prior to us going live here, they're now up to 52 Planet locations with more coming in the Midwest. Ed spends much of his time at those locations throughout Michigan, places like metropolitan Detroit, Grand Rapids, Bay City, Saginaw, Toledo, Ohio, and other mid-sized cities throughout our beautiful Midwest here in the U.S. It's interesting. We invited Ed here today to speak because one of the things that has really been a part of Ed's philosophy over time has been volunteerism, especially government relations. And Ed has extensive experience working at both the national and state levels. And we know that that's been a significant priority over the last year. And it was critical to the formation of what's known as the Michigan Fitness Club Association. Mr. Eickhoff is bringing awareness in both Michigan, at their state house, and nationally as well in Washington, D.C., as to the importance of the access to fitness, beginning back during the pandemic and, of course, post-pandemic, as we work through and we continue to make fitness a high priority for all Americans. Ed's a 30-year veteran of the commercial real estate industry, and he joined PFMG Development just prior to the coronavirus pandemic. So needless to say, Mr. Eickhoff's introduction to our world of fitness and gym management was a baptism by fire. So please join me in welcoming Ed to the I Choose Fitness Summit. Ed, we're delighted to have you.
Thank you, Alan. I'm more than happy to participate today, and I believe in the cause. And if we can, if I can help out in any way to get people more active, leading healthier lifestyles, and assist other gym owners in their state level or national level, political, lobbying type efforts. That's what I love to do.
And that's fantastic. We appreciate that, and we will lean on you for your expertise in that area. For us as our company, Profit Partners, we were founded back in the early 2000s, as you know, and our work has been exclusively with the independent club owners of all shapes and sizes globally over the last 13 years, but really over the last year or so, focusing specifically on helping our clubs here in the U.S. and in Canada. And the I Choose Fitness movement took on a life of its own as we started the recovery process. And we were disturbed by it, quite frankly. Some of the things that we saw that we had control over, that the clubs and the industry had control over during the pandemic, as we were looking to reopen, and everyone is battling at their respective state levels to reopen. It was very difficult, not only to just survive, but to try to thrive and take advantage of that pent-up demand. And we found that, we don't want to point fingers anywhere, whether it was done legislatively, whether it was done through the media. There was so much negativity brought to the industry during the shutdowns and the restrictions that it created really an unnecessary amount of hesitancy and trepidation to return to our healthy pre-pandemic behaviors. And that's how I Choose Fitness was founded. We realized at the grassroots level, people needed a greater cause. URSA does a great job at the national and international level to help the clubs survive and help them with the tools and the things that they need. And that's where we had focused as well for almost 2 decades. But realizing that if we're going to be successful longer term, we really need to rebuild at that ground root level, one member at a time, and help people to choose fitness and overcome those unhealthy habits that we all developed while we were locked down. It's interesting, Ed, I'll start with this, if I may. We define fitness internally here a little bit broader than most people say. Oh, fitness, you mean exercise. We're thinking about overall mental and physical fitness that can be improved through proper exercising, working our bodies physically, mentally, having a good mindset, and obviously the fuel that we put in, looking at the nutrition and the diets that we have, and working on that exercise, nutrition, and mindset, and working together, bringing those three in unison to help us achieve optimal health. And, we know that in the Midwest where you're located, it was particularly difficult over the last 15 months when people's exercise patterns were disrupted, eating behaviors changed, and the ability to maintain a positive mental attitude. Just from your personal experience in terms of what you saw both in the workplace and with people and friends that what was it like being in Michigan? Because it was a very different experience than a lot of people around the country saw and experienced.
Yeah, Michigan, specifically in the health and fitness industry, we were shut down for 6 full months. And as hard as we tried to explain that our facilities were safe places to go, we were not able to change the narrative. And we can get into that, a little bit more later. Mm-hmm. But what happened is we started joking, but not joking, about the COVID-15. And people had put on 15 pounds, 20 pounds, 40 pounds, right? And so the weight gain that took place because, in Michigan, it started out right in March and we had the summer and, go for your walk and go kayaking and blah, blah, blah. But not everybody did. And then when you get into the colder months and we all come indoors and, there's people who don't have room in their homes, to create home gyms. You had students at home, you had parents at home working from home. So physical space was a problem. You have some neighborhoods, it's not just particular Michigan, but any state. There are some neighborhoods where it's not safe, to be outdoors. And so and not everyone can afford a Peloton, right? Peloton is great, but not everyone can afford one. So the health equity component became an issue. And so the weight gain, and again, let's talk about the obesity, right? It was just under 40% pre-COVID. Now it's higher than 40% post-COVID. As a population, as a country, and certainly in the state of Michigan, we're an obese population. We do not get enough exercise. So the COVID-15, COVID-20, COVID-40, whatever you ended up with, the weight gain was not healthy. The other aspect, as you alluded to, it was the mental health factor, right? Opioid use went up significantly. And, I have several friends who are psychologists. Their practices were booming during, COVID and still have not really tapered off that much. The people do not feel comfortable being locked up. You had people spending a lot of time together when they're not used to spending a lot of time together. And there was nothing to do, right? The theaters were closed, the gyms were closed, the bowling alleys were closed. And what do? So all of those factors came into play. And so I agree with you that physical fitness is, yes, exercise, but you have to look at it a little more holistically. If you really want a truly healthful life, you need to look at the mental health, the physical health, and for those people that it's important to them, the spiritual side.
Agreed. And, I look at the other states that were, to use our term, really locked down, where we were locked down and locked out. And you look at the people of Washington State, California, to a certain degree, Oregon, particularly inside the Portland main circle there, a lot of the northeastern states. These are, with the exception of California, parts of the country that during this pandemic, after the first 3 or 4 months, you're right, we're dealing with some very rough weather it's one thing, and it's easy to say, well, we'll take our fitness outdoors. But there were communities where people would look at you sideways if you were out riding your bike and you didn't have a mask on. Or you're in the middle of Michigan, or you're in upstate New York, and it's February and it's 22 degrees and it's mud and ice season, and you're not going to be doing a whole heck of a lot to be able to stimulate your mind and stimulate your body. That's for sure.
Well, and even in the warmer climates, on a 115-degree day in the desert, or on 90 to 100-degree day in Georgia or Florida with the humidity, those are also factors. And even in Michigan, it's usually August. This year, July, we have pretty high humidity. Mm-hmm. Just that flippant answer that I didn't appreciate from government, just go outside, was not the answer. So I agree with you 100%.
It's interesting. I want to delve into, if we can, a little bit about the Michigan Fitness Club Association and a little bit on the history with that. It's my understanding that, the main goal and the main mission of the association is to work with both the gym owners in the state, as well as providing the help and assistance to have those gyms help their members get back to fitness. As we've said, Michigan business owners across the board, regardless of, gyms, all pretty much retail and service businesses suffered greatly with the restrictive rules for reopening and serving the people of the state. Do you have a sense, and, I don't know how far back you go to the formation of this, but why did the gym and health club owners from across the state feel the need to create an association during, this time of, literally crisis? I mean, they were all shut down.
I'm one of the founders, so I can tell you from the very beginning, when we received notice that we were going to be shut down in March, and originally it was, the 2-week pause to try and flatten the curve. It kind of raised my eyebrows, because I come from a real estate investment trust, a publicly traded shopping center, owner. That was the bulk of my career. And I was very involved in the International Council of Shopping Centers, a trade organization that represented the industry. Mm-hmm. So when I joined, Planet Fitness Michigan Group, one of the questions I asked, Brian Reef, one of the two owners, is, who represents you guys? Where's the trade organization? Because I'm a joiner, right? I'm like, where's the trade organization? And he's like, we don't have one. There's URSA, but URSA, there's the old URSA and there's the new URSA.
Right. URSA was in flux at the time.
Yeah, so, right. URSA today, I have a lot of respect for, and I didn't know the old URSA, so I can't comment on that. But URSA today, I think, is doing a lot of great things. But URSA was over here, or up here, dealing at the national level, and there was really no presence in Michigan. So, I said to Brian, I have 2 lobbyists that I'm working with, from still I'm a couple of different PAC boards. I said, let me talk to them and see what we can do to at least try and initiate a conversation with Lansing, our capital, because we can't be shut down like this. This just doesn't work. And so Brian liked that idea, and he started talking to a couple other gym owners that he knew, and they were like, absolutely, we're in. Tell us what we need to do. And so I started using primarily one of my 2 lobbyists. We had a meeting and said, what do we need to do? And we said, first and foremost, we need to get ourselves back open. And so we decided that we would formally organize. And, I enlisted an attorney, and we went through all the paperwork, officially forming the Michigan Fitness, Club Association. We put together bylaws. We established a due structure. And we went, which is what normally people do when they're forming something, you go for the lowest hanging fruit, right? Planet Fitness is the largest group in Michigan, so it's important to get all of the Planet Fitness franchisees involved. And then we went after some of the other, larger regional players. And on our board, we have, Planet Fitness, F45, Orange Theory, Powerhouse Gym, and more. Row House. I mean,
It's a broad representation.
Yeah, we covered the gamut
very quickly. Yeah, it grew very quickly.
And so we got ourselves established there, and we started our meetings, and we said, so what is short, medium, long-term goals? Because, you can't just we formed out of crisis, right? Which is normally how these things happen. But we didn't want to just be, crisis and then, wash our hands and move on, because especially in the political world we live in today, you don't know what's coming tomorrow. So we formed out of crisis. Our initial goal was to get ourselves back open. The second goal was to get rid of any restrictions that were placed on us, for the closures. And then the third and the long-term goal was to promote health and wellness in the state of Michigan. And we're in phase 2, almost done with phase 2, transitioning into 3. We are back open. The COVID-19 restrictions are lifted for today in the state of Michigan. We still have the MIOSHA, the Michigan Occupational Safety and Health Association. Right? We still have MIOSHA requirements that we have to follow, which again, those eventually need to, go to the wayside. So I think I answered your question in terms of how we formed what we initially wanted to do. Did I?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yes, you did. I'm curious, how did, what was, and again, it's easy, hindsight's always, easy, right? So, you think back a year and a half, 2 years ago, no political representation at the state level, a large industry, an important industry, not just in Michigan and elsewhere. I think that was one of our surprises too. And we'd been, from the marketing perspective and helping clubs grow and, retain members and grow their membership bases. That was our focus. We really never had to have the need to get politically involved. It was working, rolling your sleeves up, working with each club in their community to get things done. And then this massive crisis hits. Did you get much public feedback? How did the press treat the association? What's the perception by the general public? Were they very supportive, seeing you guys as a new voice, because people wanted to get back into their gyms?
Yeah. So the press generally was very good. The press was on our side. And what we learned very quickly was that the press and political polling numbers outrank the actual health crisis. Okay. And they deny that, and they don't like it when I say that, but that's the reality. In terms of the general public, it was kind of split. You had people that, really believed, COVID was very real. Still is real. We lost a lot of lives, and that's just not okay, right? But there's an appropriate response, and then there's a draconian response, going overboard. So we had people that thought the governor was doing the right thing, and we had people who agreed with us that, not just in our industry, but across the board, that, there's choice. Yes, you need masks. Yes, you need social distancing. But why are you keeping people just completely shut, and not able to do business, and not allowing our members to come in and utilize our clubs for what we felt was not a good reason? Because what we had done, Michigan Fitness Club Association members, right, we're 150 strong. The bulk of our gyms increased the MERV rating on our HVAC units to 13, increased the air turn per hour, bought the electrostatic guns, installed all the hand sanitizers. Planet Fitness, we participated, as did a couple of other members, on the Labor and Economic Opportunity Group, LEO in Michigan, that wrote the protocols for reopening. Planet Fitness had its own 90-page, booklet that we handed to Leo and said, here's a beginning point. And then we sat in on the work group. We followed all of those protocols, okay? Which meant that the air quality in our gym was the same air quality as being outside. But we couldn't change the narrative, because the narrative was you're indoors and you're enclosed in the air. It's trail, it's the air, right? And so we could never change the narrative. And the frustrating part was, again, you spend all those tens of thousands of dollars per club and you got no response. So we started doing a visit to virus ratio on a monthly basis. We were tracking in our clubs, the visit to virus ratio. It was statistically 0 the entire time. And then we even went a step further and started doing air quality testing in our clubs. And that kind of, again, 0 COVID was found in any of our clubs, right? And all these stats are going to Lansing. None of that helped. So that's partially what led to the creation. I think I'm jumping to your next question, the Safer in Shape program within our clubs, because we wanted to show our members and Lansing that our gyms were safe and that exercise was important. And again, the health equity argument, not everyone can buy a Peloton. Not everyone has room in their house, to have a home gym. And it's hot, it's cold, and sometimes it's not safe to be outside.
Safer in Shape definitely caught our eyes, that coming out of the association, that being the third stage, I believe, of you saying of, really working with the public and your local communities to use this data that, we got really excited back in January when IHRSA published data that was distributed nationally. They did a great job of disseminating it to every state house, showing that your gym, the rate of infection rate at your gym was 15 times lower than if you were to go get a haircut, or 50 times lower than in your supermarket, which was not the narrative that was being distributed. There was a lot of disingenuous, uninformed information being put out there. And I don't think it was intended to be divisive, but it wasn't being reported in the traditional press outlets. So, yeah, we're very excited seeing what you're doing in Michigan with Safer in Shape. Maybe you could spend a few minutes and kind of drill down on that in terms of the mission there and where that's going to lead in the second half of this year and as we turn the corner into 2022.
Sure. The Safer in Shape program kind of grew out of the lack of response that we were getting from Lansing in terms of allowing us to reopen. So the program was designed twofold. One, we wanted to communicate to our members that we were following CDC protocols, that our health facilities were safe places to go, et cetera. And the other half was, you need to come back, people. We offer community, right? There's a reason you came to us before. Come back for that experience. We're a social outlet for a lot of people, right? So it's social, it's physical, and so trying to educate people away from the fear-mongering narrative that was coming from government. We're trying to use the Safer in Shape to change that narrative and to help communicate to our government officials that we were a safe place to go. And that program, interestingly enough, kind of got copied from the state. MIOSHA had their own program that they put out, that if you could get MIOSHA certification that you were a quote unquote, safe gym, which was more about the facility than the people. And again, MFCA member clubs voluntarily went through that and we all passed, and still, we got nowhere in Lansing because we were enclosed and it's heavy breathing and the air, particles and whatever. So the mission of Safer in Shape, the phase 2, as you just referred to it, is we now have blogs, or they're not blogs, so webinars. We're doing a webinar once a month. And the webinars have different topics. And some of them are geared toward the gym owners and gym operations, and others are geared toward the public. But what's interesting is our current conversation is, how do we potentially utilize some of our staff and trainers to do things like diabetes prevention, with our members, right?
Right.
There are ways to get involved with medical organizations and insurance companies potentially to actually be considered part of the health industry. And so we don't exactly know where it's going to end, but we know that we're going to be sponsoring, a 5K walk, in the fall. We know that, we're researching. There's a group in Detroit, because Detroit has a disproportionate level of minority community and overweight community. So they're trying to promote health and fitness inside Detroit. And so we're trying to get involved with them. There's the Michigan Health Foundation, which is about both nutrition as well as exercise. So under the broader umbrella of Safer in Shape, it's to really help change the narrative, get the word out to people that both our facilities are a good place to come, and here are the health benefits that you need, right? That you need,
Right.
It really. And I just read an article recently that as little as walking, 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, can totally change, the amount of insurance. It was an insurance article. You can save yourself $2,500 a year simply by walking 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, right? You get a little, and once you get into it, which is, I wasn't physically fit until I got into college, you get addicted.
Of course,
right? It becomes a lifestyle.
Yep.
And so we're talking about, through our webinars and through our clubs, do we add a nutrition component? How do we, eventually at the legislative level, we would like to get credit so that you can have your HSA dollars used for health club memberships. Or if you have a health club membership, maybe you'll get a discount from Blue Cross or whoever your insurance provider is. So we're taking that now in a much broader direction. And where it ends, Alan, I honestly don't know, but it's going.
And it has created a change in mindset, wouldn't you say? I mean, you with your 52 locations, and you look at it from the operational end of things, going to the gym, you mentioned, it's not just I go there because they have great equipment. Mm-hmm. There's the social aspect. There's the support, the encouragement, whether it's direct or indirect encouragement. But I'm looking at the operators today, and I think out of necessity, they've changed their mindsets and had their eyes open to say, we can't just provide a room full of equipment and 20 group fitness classes and open our doors and expect people to come flooding into our facilities any longer. Our role as a community leader of health has to change. And I'm getting a sense through what you're saying that there in Michigan, and particularly what you're instituting within your locations, is this broader definition of overall wellness and health that goes beyond just letting people know that you've got group fitness classes. And it does get down to, here's how you can prevent or reverse the effects if you're a type 2 diabetic. What you should be doing more than just buying 6 bottles of Hydroxycut at Walmart and take caffeine-laced pills to lose 30 pounds. It's more than just that. Am I correct in that assumption?
You are. We are a Planet Fitness franchisee, so there is a model that we, are bound to by our franchise agreement. Mm-hmm. So some of the things that other MFCA clubs might be able to do on a broader level than we personally can do. Mm-hmm. But I agree with you that, through electronics, Planet Fitness does have an app just like most, gyms do today. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of additional information in our app about health and fitness overall. And certainly MFCA as an organization is promoting overall, health and fitness. We don't have a conversation where we don't talk about health equity. We don't have a conversation where we don't talk about, mental health, where we don't talk about the opioid crisis, where we don't talk about, trying to lose the COVID weight gain that occurred. And really trying to remind people that, again, it's a beautiful day in Michigan today. I'm looking out my window, the sun's shining, although, it's raining earlier, but, but these are the days we cherish. These aren't the norm, right?
Right.
And unfortunately, if you dealt much of politics, you'll find that if you go into, Congress or Senate and or the House or the Senate in any given state, you'll find that those aren't people who are very physically fit. Okay. they lead very difficult lives. They're on the road a lot. Their eating habits are not the best. So they don't understand us, right? It's part of the problem because they aren't part of us. You get one or two, but it's not the majority by any.
Right. It's not the majority demographic. Right.
So our role, and I'm thrilled that iChoose Fitness is around and helping in this, is we need to change the narrative of the people in general that, to lead healthy lives and to be able to walk and enjoy life when we're, a little bit older, to be around for our kids, our grandkids. It's not going and being, the big, bodybuilding muscle type. That may be for some people, but it's not for everybody. In terms of, just general health, come in and use our machines. Come in and use tracks if we have tracks. Come in and use the pool if it's a facility that has a pool. Some level of physical fitness is very, very important for your mental well-being, as well as your physical well-being.
And I'm sure Safer in Shape is a platform that in getting that word out at the local level. And I assume that is permissible inside of your franchise agreement to promote that within your club locations. Yeah,
we have a Safer in Shape pledge, and that's in every club of PF Michigan Group.
Got it. When you look at, and I think the last 60 to 90 days have been we've seen dramatic changes, regardless of whether you're pro-vaccine, on the fence, anti-vaccine. The fact is that once the vaccine became widely distributed, there was less of I'll use the word excuse, because what we see on our end in terms of membership retention and membership building across the country since the beginning of this year, there were a lot of people come January and February who kind of leaned on the vaccine as, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till I get the shot. And then it was, I'm going to wait till I get the second booster. And then it was, I still really haven't recovered from the shots yet. It really wasn't until the end of April and into May that our data was showing that the resiliency of wanting to come back has changed. What's that been like in your experience from what you've seen in your area in the Midwest over the last 60 days with people coming back, people needing and craving and wanting that activity and that social aspect to it?
It's really only been in the last 60 days, and it's been refreshing to see that now that the vaccine has reached in Michigan, we're pretty good. We're at 61.4 with both shots, and somewhere around, I think, 70 with at least one, which is probably where it's going to max out. But the whole mindset, once people were told, okay, so it's okay, you don't have to be 6 feet apart. It's okay, you don't have to wear a mask, right? You still be smart, because there are cases where people who are vaccinated still get COVID. It's not as serious, but it does happen. But be smart. But people, it's in the rearview mirror, right? We're heading home. It's we're the final stretch, and the people have been cooped up for so long that they're very happy to be back out. And we, since January 1st, we have seen positive net joins in our facilities, but in the last 60 days, there's been a spike, and we expect that to continue. And the summer is not usually the time where you get a lot of new gym memberships, right? I mean, there's a big spike January, February, March, and then you get some September, October. But the summer is quiet. But we're knock on wood, very pleasantly surprised with what we're seeing in Michigan.
And that's great. That's great to hear. And you're 100% right. Since the early 2000s, when we focused our attentions exclusively on the health and fitness industry in terms of those that we were serving, it was very easy it was very, very common. And it really didn't matter whether you were in a rural area, suburban, inner city. You get to Memorial Day, And from Memorial Day to Labor Day, it was like turning a switch. The kids are out of school. People are starting to take vacations. And, it was a time where, I love my gym, but, I want to be outdoors and I want to do things. And we were expecting, I didn't know where to really make a call on this, and I didn't. And I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because I probably would have leaned on the fact of saying that, but even though people have been cooped up and they haven't had access to their gym in a long, long time, I think people are, if they had to rank the priority, I think traveling, being able to spend more time with extended family and friends, that's still going to take precedent. My gut was the travel industry is going to go back and explode. People get on airplanes again, on trains and buses and cars, and you didn't get stopped at the border between states to, and I remember those early days. I mean, it was we were independent countries in Europe.
And, the online classes are not going away. What's interesting is we have found that now there's an expectation that we have it, but it's an expectation to have it in conjunction with the physical gym. People go on vacation, allows them to still work with their, trainer, even though they're not in town. If they have a particular class that they enjoy, they can do the class, virtually from anywhere they happen to be. So we think it's going to be an integrated part. And again, some of the ancillary benefits that are coming from that is you can put things on your app that aren't necessarily related to, again, exercise. There can be the nutrition, as you and I have discussed. There are other things that can the app can be used for. And so it's here to stay. And if we're smart and, going forward, just like in retail and shopping centers, the successful retailers needed to learn how to be vertically integrated, omni-channel, as they call it. We now, as health and fitness, need to be able to do the same thing. Whether our customer wants to connect with us on their iPhone or they want to connect with us in the gym, we need to meet them where they're at. And the more we can accomplish that and make us a part of their day-to-day lives, it gives us the opportunity to help educate them on the other types of things that you and I find important.
And I think that's interesting. It's an excellent segue into and you have a unique perspective being on the operational side and the development side of what it takes. And most people have no clue or any idea what it takes to retrofit a facility for a club who's saying, we have to make some substantial changes in the way that we do business. We have to offer new and different things, because what people wanted pre-COVID is different than what they want post-COVID. And in order to be successful and survive, and to thrive and to be a welcoming place for, people of all shapes, sizes, and ages, we've got to solve the problems, and we have to overcome the objections that they have. And I'm curious, we were talking before we started the interview about, you've got a lot of different things going on, and clubs are in various stages of reopening. Their doors may be reopened, but in a lot of places, there's some staffing issues, and others, there's some retrofitting issues that need to be done. And you have had the unique opportunity, looking at, over 50 facilities, which in turn, if my math is correct, and I'll be conservative, you've got 25 to 50,000 people or more that are coming through those facilities. And that's a large, large group. And, they're voting with their membership key fob. They're either going to unfreeze their membership, or they're going to come in and they're going to get their membership for the first time. And people are now making a lot of different decisions on, where do I go? So I guess my question to you is it relates to common threads. Do you see any common threads through your gyms, other gyms within the association, because you're all different shapes and sizes, that have managed to come through this and are out the other side and starting to serve the communities again? Are there things that the winners are there? And I guess the flip side of that, or there are more commonalities, those that failed because. Any general observations on that?
Yeah, there's two sides to that question. One, there's the financial side, and if you were undercapitalized, or you had a landlord that didn't work with you, you became a casualty, because being shut for 6 months and still having all your bills to pay, is not a good recipe to have. So part of it was that. Part of those that are not coming through the other end basically didn't choose to accept the reality of COVID and weren't willing to make the changes to their facilities to embed in their members the confidence that they were clean facilities, that they could come in and exercise and following the protocols in place, again, wearing masks when dictated, doing the social distancing, that if you didn't present yourself as someone that was following the rules and created a safe, clean environment, that was the other equation for those who did not survive, because they ended up getting shut down, because of COVID, right? So their members it happened, right? So those of us who survived are the ones who rolled up our sleeves, begged, borrowed, and stealed in some cases. I don't know that anyone stole, but you get my gist. That to borrow on our lines of credit, dig into our own pockets, work with whatever government programs were out there. We did interviews with radio, TV, newspapers. We had a boot camp at the Capitol at one point in time. So we kept putting ourselves out there to show the community that we were being responsible, that there's two parts of the narrative and you're only hearing one side of it. So those that survived rolled up their sleeves and accepted the reality of COVID and wanted to do what was right, because most of us are in this for our members, right? It's a business, but we're in it because we care about the health and fitness industry and we care about the health of our members. So we just needed to help them understand that we got it, right? Come back. We're safe. Here's everything we did.
And it's that new narrative that's so hard to change, and because we're swimming upstream, feel like salmon, getting ready to spawn, and it's a tough battle. The current has been very strong, and to try to deflect off of what's been there. Before we wrap up, just one or two additional questions. And again, thank you for all of your time. I know how busy you are. Again, using that unique perspective, it was easy pre-COVID when people were making decisions on what was important to them when selecting gym A, B, or C over each other. It might be the number one thing may have been the vibe of the gym. I get a great feeling when I walk in here. Convenience, hugely important. Is it easy for me to get in, get out? Is it on my way to work, on my way home, or is it close to home? Pricing, can I afford this gym? Pricing really wasn't a huge driver, because unless you were at a real one end of the spectrum or the other for an ultra exclusive club, or $9 a month type of club with few, if any, amenities, it really was based on just more of those simple terms. Do you offer group fitness classes? Real easy stuff. That's changed. People are asking different questions now. People are looking for different things as they're returning. As an operator of fitness businesses, if you were guiding, your friends, your family to say, hey, if you're looking to go back to the gym, look for these 2 or 3 different, maybe new things that you should be concerned with. If you're at all concerned about, is this the right gym for you? Are there some new things that people should be looking for?
Well, I think that you want to know that it's a safe and clean environment, number one. And so I think that is still important. Certainly, people are still price conscious, and coming out of COVID, you either fared fine or took some big hits. So being price conscious is still important. Again, we've mentioned it once already, but one of the interesting things coming out of this is the whole, application aspect of it. If your gym doesn't have an app, I'm not sure you're in it for the long haul. You need to be able to connect with your members when they want to connect with you, how they want to connect with you. And customer service. Let's not forget good old-fashioned customer service. If you come into the club 2-3 times a week, they should know your name,
Right.
right? They should welcome you in the door, right? They should ask you, don't get in your way, but ask you, how you doing today? Do you need any help, right? And again, different levels of clubs offer different services, but we cater to the entry level, gym goer.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't know how to use a lot of these machines, right? So customer service, I would, anyone who's going into business, whether it's the health and fitness industry or not, don't forget good old fashioned customer service.
And it's different now, and it's harder because, again, the person that walks through your door, you don't want to prejudge anybody. It might be the person who still thinks that we should be wearing masks, is waiting for the next booster shot for the vaccine, and will probably never shake somebody's hand again, to the other end of the spectrum of, it was overblown. Yes, is it a deadly disease? Yes, but no more so than any other flu season. We know both sides of it. And if the owner is prejudging going in or pushing his or her own platform and beliefs on the membership, I think that can be very, very detrimental, because you're going to immediately cut off 50% of your prospective membership base just by the attitude and philosophy and the training of your staff and the people that you hire. I'll ask you one last question. There are people that are part of this summit, men and women who aren't involved in the fitness industry, but they're like you and I. They're getting their lives back to normal. They're realizing that I've got to improve my nutrition. I've got to get back to making exercise something that I really look forward to and part of my everyday routine. Mindset, I think there's a lot of work to do on mindset. But there are a lot of people listening to our conversation who continue to procrastinate about getting back out there. And they know they need to do something, but they're still feeling stuck. What would you say to that person that in your life that's kind of stuck and on the fence and just needs that little push?
One step at a time, right? I mean, that's how it happens. You're not going to become physically fit overnight. And don't worry about, I don't have a half an hour or an hour to commit every single day.
Right.
Give yourself 5 minutes. Start there, right? Take 5 minutes just to quiet your mind, 5 minutes to do some, little exercises at home to get started. Because once you start, and if you stay committed, don't do it like the crash diet where I'm going to starve myself, and then when I'm done starving myself, I go binge eat, which defeats the purpose and isn't healthy. Do it for the long term.
Right.
One step, small bites, and it'll happen. And I just had that conversation 2 nights ago with a manager at the restaurant I eat at all the time. He has gotten so busy because he's so short-staffed that he's kind of lost his own personal life. And his name's Josue. I said, Josue, 5 minutes. Promise me you'll take 5 minutes and start, right? And that's how it happens.
It does. We're into such immediate gratification in our society today. I order something on Amazon and I expect it to be here tomorrow. I want to take this diet pill and I want to lose 15 pounds in the first 2 weeks. And as we know, with a lot of these things, it takes a long time to achieve optimal health. Thankfully, it takes a long time to deteriorate, but it's those habits that are broken, good and bad, can be very hard to recover when you're out of sync with it. One little step at a time, get those good habits back. I was particularly, and again, thank you for your time. I was particularly intrigued by what you folks are doing with Safer in Shape. For our audience, just so that they know about it, where can people go to get more information about what your association is doing? Get more information about Safer in Shape.
Our website is mfcafit.org, and everything about our association, how we got started. Feel free to use our bylaws if you're trying to create one. The Safer in Shape program, the media that we've done, the lobbying that we've done. The website has it all. mfcafit.org. fit.org.
Well, we're going to make sure we put that in the hands of everybody who's attended today. And we wish you the absolute best, Ed, in what you're doing. And we thank you for your efforts and what you're doing at a local and national level. We can all benefit from it. And I really appreciate you joining the summit with us today.
You're welcome. Glad I could help.
Absolutely.